them, which is pretty awesome to see. So I'm always excited when Marto gets to come out onto the field. I'm sure he's going to do some great things tonight. Last time we did see Team Apex, they struggled to find the synergy necessary to really execute. We could see each of the individuals making plays, but they weren't quite making them together. So if they really want to take a game off of TSM tonight, they're going to have to focus in on that mid and late game where TSM tends to be the best at. So we'll see. I definitely think they have an opportunity to take a point if they do something kind of wild, crazy, catch TSM by surprise. But I think if they try to stick in the meta, TSM is really going to put a pretty large mountain in front of them for them to be able to climb over.
Absolutely. Well, and joining us tonight for casting of these games, it is going to be Humanist and Tasty Bacon. And I do just want to give them just a quick moment to introduce you guys, as well as a few comments you might have about tonight's matchups right before we get this game started.
Well, thank you very much, Dragonborn, Tasty Bacon, and of course, these games, these are incredibly important for the VISPRO standings because of yesterday's results, with Hammers Esports remaining undefeated and Team Phoenix staying right behind them. Team Solomid and Team Apex, whoever can get their points off of this matchup will be very, very close to securing themselves a spot in the playoffs for VISPRO. Team Solomid obviously having 3 and Apex having 2 points thus far on the season. So this is one of the more important matchups that we've had all season.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to be here as well, Dragonborn, and Bacon breaks down the importance of it. I'm just excited to see some big plays tonight. Of course, you got Von C in the building. There's going to be some fire.
Absolutely. Well, with that, guys, we are going to get into the first game. So take it away, Humanist and Tasty Bacon, for game number 1 of this matchup.
All right, yeah, jumping right into it. We don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer, and we're just going to jump right on into this first draft. You can see the ban Samuel currently being hovered. Samuel is available to play now, so no Samuel. He's available to play, and yet for some reason, I feel like he's not going to be available to play.
No malice and verdicts this game. Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier. I've talked with a few players about this hero, and the overall opinion is it just feels like he's just incredibly strong as far as his damage output, and he tends to just do everything at a very high level. So, of course, we're probably going to see him being banned out.
Yeah, so the Samuel and the Lyra, the 2 most recent heroes to be released, sharing themselves a spot in the ban column there. And that leaves Finn open as first pick, so very quickly going to be grabbed up. But then, of course, that leaves the Adagio Lance, another very strong combo we've been seeing a lot of.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, if these are available, they're going to be picked up here. And as far as TSM, they really favor this Lance, and they'll put it in the jungle or in the roam position quite often.
Yeah, well, it's going to be answered with a Kestrel and a Celeste. So a lot of range to kind of deal with that Lance coming through. That can actually make life pretty difficult for him here. And they're going to answer with an Ardent. So Adagio with 2 melee heroes, not anything surprising there. Maybe the actual heroes picked might be surprising, though.
Yeah, well, these guys having some fun doing the power swaps back and forth. Look, we have the party skins. Bacon. This is going to be wonderful. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Lance. I think, of course, like Von C's Lance into the Celeste into the Kestrel. He really excels into these squishy kind of high-powered heroes, but he's on a timer, right? So like while he'll be able to dominate early and just shred through them, if they're not able to close this game out, things are going to get really rough.
Yeah, especially if we end up seeing a situation where Von C goes in for that Impale, and if it gets an active camo field down by Bladeheart, then that could leave him into a really, really bad position, even worse so than Lance normally is if he misses that Impale.
Yeah, exactly. Now we'll see how these guys go ahead and work around this first rotation down towards the shop. If they just do a little bit of shopping passively, Marto's going to make it down here first. But I just think, like, with Bladeheart, you got to be quite careful around Von C. He's not going to hesitate on this Lance.
And if actually, because of the way it works out here, it looks like there will be the shop first by Bladeheart, but now Team Solomid, they can make the aggressive move, and they're looking to take down Mardo. A lot of damage going on. I don't know if they quite have enough, though. Looks like they're going to try and use that Vanguard, get the extra movement speed, and they find the kill. Mardo being the one going down. A big impale will land on the Bladeheart, but he's got good damage getting dished right back onto FlashX and Von C. So it looks like they're going to try and collapse onto him, though. This is not going to be ending very pretty for one of these two teams, and it is going to be Team Solomid that likes the way this looks.
Even the missed impale, a nice move from Bladeheart to go ahead and read out that attempt. He still goes down. This is the power of the Arden and Lance combo. I really feel like if you're jungling your Lance, like Arden is by far your best choice in many, many cases. But while all of this was going on, Bacon, you see Bruticus really getting dominated in the lane right now by Best Chuck's Adagio, and this is kind of how you'd expect it to work out.
Yeah, well, not only is that domination in the lane happening, but they, side of Apex, they just lost out on so much of their own jungle from this as well. I feel like they need to actually be aggressive here and go chasing Team Solomid into their own jungle because they are low on health, but that's not the play they're going for. They're instead coming up into the lane and seeing if they can make anything happen on the Best Chuck. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. At the same time, I feel that if you make like any misplay, you really put yourself in a vulnerable position. If you're playing for the late game, there's really not the need to force it. But yeah, if your opponent is low on health, you can always take that risk. Marto just on the edge of that polite company in lane. If he had landed that, it could have been the kill. Bladeheart engaged on the stun. Bacon, is this enough for a kill?
Oh, it absolutely is. Will it be enough for a second kill is the question now. But I don't think they're going to be able to. Mardo and Bruticus being too close to these turrets. Although Mardo, he's taking a lot of punishment. But look at how smart this movement from Team Solomid is. While Von C is harassing Mardo and keeping him away from this jungle, FlashX starts up the camp so that when Von C turns around, he just pokes it once. There's no chance of it being stolen. There's no chance of them getting re-engaged on. And this entire jungle is just being dominated by Team Solomid at the moment.
Yeah, I think every part of the map is being dominated currently. But I mean, you look at Bruticus's items. He's got his tier 2 boots and a battery as well. Like, he's essentially just saying, look, I'm trying to stay away from you and just keep myself out in the lane. The impale lands the damage out of Von C. Slingshot forward and a kill. Bacon, that's almost too easy.
Yeah, Bruticus may be able to stay away from them, but Mardo and Bladeheart, they are not quite so lucky. And 6 kills now in under 4 minutes and a 2,000 gold lead just about. Team Solomid are absolutely dominating this early game.
Dominating indeed. And you see Flash, I mean, I don't know if you mentioned the Stormguard banner picked up here, but this is a bit greedy, but the way they're starting to snowball, it could really pay off for them.
It's a greedy pickup for sure, but when you have this big of a lead, you can be greedy. The whole point is they want to just continue snowballing as hard as they can. And this is an item that once you're ahead, it can really just get you even further ahead. Right now, they're looking to do just that. FlashX will get stunned up by a nice active camo, but a big impale from Von C hits Bladeheart, and Best Chuck is rotated down. This is not looking good for Apex. They get a nice stun onto Von C, but it will be another kill. Somehow Von C, oh, nope, he does end up going down. Not quite sure what killed him.
Yeah, I'd actually moved my camera up right then towards to Bruticus in the lane, so I didn't quite catch the tail end of that. But it looks like Bruticus was credited with that. I'm sure he's going to be happy to have that kill go to his name. The biggest thing, though, is like we look at the Celeste in this game. She really needs to hit that level 8, get that overdriven Helio. Look at that. Bladeheart actually finding the kill onto Flash down in the jungle. I guess Flash just kind of pushing his luck a little too far there.
Yeah, I mean, that was big for Bladeheart. Needed something to get going. Bladeheart's still sitting on single-digit farm 5 minutes into this game. That is just not where you want to be, and will be taking that tree end. But there may have been a little bit of trouble taking that, but I mean, everything is still very heavily in favor of Team Solomid, despite those 2 deaths being given up. Von C, he's looking for more. He's gonna miss that impale though, so that will be the end of that attempt. And it's just going to be continuing. I mean, look at this. Even after going for the attempted kill, missing under the turret with the impale, Von C just says, you know what, I'm just going to go into your jungle and look for more kills this way. However, misses another impale. Bladeheart might have an opportunity to find some damage going back, but no, just going to be continuing to fight up in this lane.
I think one of the unfortunate things, so we'll hold that thought, is turret's going to go down. Flash eating a lot of damage. Bladeheart, oh, just too far forward, gets taken down. The unfortunate thing in that last engage when had Von C missed his impale under turret is Bruticus actually activated boots, and it felt like he really didn't need to, and that's a tool that the Celeste really wants to hold on to as long as possible.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a panic reaction there. I mean, you don't anticipate that a player the caliber of Von C is necessarily going to miss that impale coming out of the bush. So the moment you see him on your screen, you just pop those boots, just anticipating him to be coming in right onto you. So either way, like you said, going to be about 30 more seconds for Celeste not having that utility to try and avoid a fight. And with that turret going down, it means that it's going to become even more dangerous for Bruticus to farm up in the lane.
Yeah, well, let's see. I mean, right now they haven't taken minion mine, so this is going to like naturally push towards the side. I think that's going to be just fine for them. As you said, if he gets into that middle half of the map, then yeah, you become much more vulnerable to these ganks. And if they do that, they just have to communicate with the team. Like either they need to be nearby, or just he needs to make sure that they have vision down in all of these important brush spots.
And look at the item differences between these players. You look at Best Chuck and Von C, both having a tier 3 item and components for their second. Bruticus and Bladeheart still working towards their first. That just kind of goes to show how big of a gold disparity there is in this game. I mean, it's just the scoreboard kind of shows the whole story. 4,000 gold plus in favor of Team Solomid at 7.5 minutes.
I think it's worth mentioning though, like you did see Bruticus go for the tier 2 boots quite early, and now he was basically forced into that. On the other side, Best Chuck really didn't have to, and so his items are going to come out faster anyway.
Yeah, well, now speaking of items and the differences they have in a fight, look at the damage being dealt to Bruticus, still somehow hanging on to life. That was incredibly close to being more kills going over to Team Solomid, but a great job by Apex staying alive. Marto, though, he's not going to be so lucky. Using that Sorrow Blade is I'm not Von C, which is actually Von C, in case anyone was wondering. Von C. But they are going to be now going up underneath this turret. FlashX just going to take a heal from Best Chuck as they destroy the turret. And, oh, Bruticus, you are on the wrong side of this one.
Bruticus, on the wrong side of the tracks right here, is going to get taken down. Flash credited with that kill right there. 2:10, 8.5 minutes into this. And, the thing is, though, they really do have to keep on the gas, though. Like, if they let off, they make some mistakes, you're going to let this lineup right back into the game.
Yeah, like you said, they are still on a timer of sorts. Like, the lance will fall off eventually. It may not be for a while because of how far ahead they were able to get, but there is a point in time where the composition from Apex will be able to overtake and deal with the composition from a Team Solomid, and it's Team TSM's job to make sure that doesn't get to that point.
All right. Well, as far as the tools that Apex have at their disposal, we're now seeing the level 6 on Finn. So Force Accord is going to be ready to go, and Bruticus has also hit his level 8. So your overdriven Helios are going to be coming out as well, and it's definitely going to be a little bit easier for him to, just navigate his way around this map.
Yeah, going back to the levels, Marto still only level 6. That is just not going to be cutting it in these fights. I mean, you really want to get... Level 6 is obviously a big level for a Finn, but level 8 is what you really want so you can have that stun. But for now, speaking of stuns, Bruticus, oh my goodness, that was
how many woohoos
wrong.
Did come out of... there was woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. That's all I could hear. But he goes down. I mean, honestly, it's not too often that you see a Finn get chunked down that quickly. TSM are just snowballing out of control right now. And they're like, well, I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt over to Apex to say that there are ways back into this game. If any of that lands like that right there, it's not going to happen.
Well, Von C, he's going to be dropped close, but Forced Accord and One Shot One Kill both going to go wide. And Von C is going to get pulled back from that play company, but has a Vanguard to get himself out of dodge. And that's the end of that push. 3 turrets now destroyed at 10.5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's actually a really big deal. This choke point turret is a spot where you can kind of, funnel your opponents into a bad positioning a lot of times, especially when you're playing a Finn, right? You hook them back
Finn and Celeste.
Yeah, Finn and Celeste. Not to mention, that laying that active camo down those kind of combos are where you want to be landing them. So it's a really big deal to have that down for TSM.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen so many comebacks happen at that tier 3 turret, but oh my goodness, a lot of stuns from both sides, but the damage is just so massive from Team Solomid, and just like that, a very quick and clean ace. Best Chuck NA getting himself a triple kill.
Wow. Okay, Chuck.
Like, that fight was over before we could even say that there's a fight happening.
I mean, we were just like talking about choke point areas, and they literally just all clumped up right there. It was just impales, the Githian walls. I mean, everything. It was just a Von C Christmas.
Absolutely, and you know, Von C Christmas in this situation is the best Chuck NA Christmas. He gets to just light him up and throw down the
Von C was
Gauntlet coming
Claus
over.
There.
Yeah, Gauntlet coming in, Bruticus, he's the first to fall. There's nowhere to go for Bladeheart, and now Mardo can just kind of try and stall and keep them as far away from the base as possible, but he only gets about 5 feet before he drops as well. And Team Solomid, I mean, we're 12 minutes in and they're pushing crystal turrets.
Yeah, it feels bad, man, right now for Apex, but this is the position you can get yourself into. You know, you draft late, you're dealing with the Lance, you're dealing with the Arden, and it's not just, you know, your average pro players. I mean, these are pro players at the top of their game, and these are combos they've been working on, so you would expect them to execute at this high of a level.
Yeah, this is the #1 seed going into the live championships. That's what you're dealing with. So unfortunately for Apex, it's not going to work out here in game #1. Are they going to get a kill here? No. Just the 2 that they picked up earlier in the game. The Vein Crystal has fallen 12.5 minutes. That is just an incredibly dominant performance coming out of Team Solomid.
Yeah, I mean, from beginning, what a fast end that was. Not even 13 minutes in, this game's over 2-20. I mean, Best Chuck, he had the dominance from the very beginning. I think we were calling the action that was happening in the jungle. We probably had camera there as well, but I kept flipping my personal camera up to lane just a little bit, and every time Best Chuck was just dominating. And you would expect the Adagio to dominate against the Celeste, but it was just absolutely flawless performance out of TSM here.
Yeah, I mean, finishing 25 CS ahead of Bruticus, but the big number is obviously that 3,000 gold differential, 3,000 plus, almost 4,000 gold more earned for Best Chuck NA over Bruticus. And like you said, you know, we were watching a lot of the fights in the jungle just because there's more action there with 4 people instead opposed to 2. But Bruticus was just getting kind of bullied around in the lane, and Von C and FlashX doing the same thing in the jungle to Mardo and Bladeheart.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, Bacon, we sat there, we were breaking it down as it happened live. We've got our good guys Dragonborn, Fuji watching in the background. Fuji, I wanted to ask you, did you see anything that Apex could have done differently, and maybe in these early rotations through the jungle, maybe something that they missed opportunities or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think if we go all the way back to the draft, I'd actually have to say I favor Apex's draft over TSM's, specifically just because Kestrel does really well into Lance once you hit the mid game, once you scale a little bit later, and Celeste does really well into Adagio in the same kind of idea, but what you asked was, what should they have done? What could they have done? The biggest issue with Apex was that they were too aggressive early. They like sparred in 2v2s that they should not have done. And it actually created even more of a kind of snowball, if you will, from TSM, when instead of looking to counter invade and not fight the Lance and Arden early, they kept staying in the back of their jungle trying to defend what essentially is going to be almost impossible to defend against this kind of Lance Arden combo. So I think in the early game, when it came to draft, I liked the idea that they had, but they just didn't execute it. They treated their jungle as if it was just as strong as the Lance, and it wasn't.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So you think, I mean, maybe just try to sneak across into TSM's jungle when you know that they're invading, look to trade something out, get what you can at that point?
Yeah, if you're drafting Celeste and Kestrel, you're basically stating to the enemy team our win condition is going to be in the mid game when Celeste goes over to level 8 and Kestrel gets enough weapon power to be able to constantly reposition herself. But if you're fighting outside of that win conditioning, you're giving the enemy team all the advantages they need. And I mean, this wasn't even just a jungle problem. We saw Chuck actually winning a 1v1 at 2 minutes into the game. Like Celeste goes down really early, which intensifies the pressure that TSM's able to place on the side of Apex because they're losing in lane, they're losing early in jungle, and this is the exact recipe that TSM wants with this comp, and Apex kind of fell prey to it, even though I think their draft would have held up really fine if they would have focused more on avoiding the early team fights. They specifically at one point in the game, this was a little after 2 minutes, TSM actually offset their rotation to re-invade. Marto had a scout trap. They saw the invade. They saw both Lance and Arden, and they had an opportunity to go and exchange jungles, but instead they went back and fought. And that specific moment of the game, in my opinion, was what really turned it in TSM's favor, and that was only like 3 minutes in.
I think that's a really good point. Like anytime that you have the knowledge that they're invading is definitely one of the opportunities that you can look to do that counter invading that you were speaking of. One of the hardest things is when you don't have the vision down and you actually have to play the guessing game. And sometimes you can hang yourself out to dry. Sometimes it works out for you. But specifically, like if you had your eyes on that, you saw they had a scout trap, then yeah, that's a regrettable moment for sure.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to that shot call just not being what it needed to be. Once you get the vision, it's got the information, but you gotta know what to do with it. And frankly, TSM knew what to do with all the information they got. I mean, we saw a 2,000 gold lead at 5 minutes, at the 4,000 gold lead at 7.5 minutes, and before the game closed out, we were over 10,000. And I feel that Apex just didn't really know what to do once they started with some aggression that they shouldn't have, and they lost. They didn't really have a comeback plan. And because the vision after 9 minutes was really bad, they overextended, they got caught, they kept losing turret after turret. So one mistake led to another. And of course, you guys can see at the end of the game, I mean, it was fast. I mean, we're talking about a level 8 jungler on the side of Apex. So it doesn't really matter what you do. You're never going to win with that kind of disparity if they're on your Vayne Crystal turrets. So tough game for Apex. TSM played it really well. I definitely think Apex had a good draft. I'd like to see them play the draft correctly, though, if they do go with something a little bit more mid to late game. They just need to recognize where those power spikes are, and they'll do much better, I hope, in game 2.
Yeah, well, I hope that they can execute on it a little better in game 2. Like I said, I think the draft was actually pretty strong as well. I don't know if, like you said, they actually had vision and then made the wrong call. Sometimes that happens in the heat of the moment, and you hope that you would be able to correct that moving into the next game, or in another case, maybe another series. But I just, if they have that early versus late game, then you would feel like putting a little more emphasis on your early game vision would be pretty important for that team as well.
Yeah, it's not too hard to make the decision to invest into some early travel boosts. Like if you notice, basically the way TSM continued to win this game was by always changing their personal rotations on their jungle, just taking some of the fronts, offsetting their normal cycle in order to continue to invade in the backs. And they did it over and over and over again, and they just denied so much farm from the jungle of Apex, and even denied farm passively from Celeste because she kept having to rotate down to try to help, and Celeste just doesn't have the damage to deal with this Lance early game. So focus more on the scaling, spend some more time in lane when you lose the 2v2 matchup, and just focus on farming. Like, I know it can be hard. I know it's like more attractive to try to fight, try to make some plays, but if you don't have a comp that's meant to fight at that specific part of the game, just focus on getting your jungle and farm, and know that once you hit your item breakpoints, you're actually going to do extremely well against this Lance and Adagio later in the match.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like
I think there was only one other thing I thought as far as, do you think that the Stormguard banner pickup is strictly only when he's snowballing like that hard right there, or do you think there'll be other times where we'll see him pick that up before completing his fountain?
I definitely think Arden's one of these heroes that can make the best use of the item. I feel like it is pretty much kind of, if you're snowballing, you can help solidify it by finishing this item off. I definitely think Storm Guard, like the banner itself, is really good for stealing. If you're going to be living in the enemy's jungle, then it's good to have that extra true damage so you can be able to take things. Maybe your jungler, who's now 2 levels up, is fighting and you're behind him, actually like taking some of the minions away, so you're 100% guaranteeing your lead. I think when you finish the Storm Crown, that's just kind of the cherry on top at that point. But yeah, man, like it's interesting to kind of watch how TSM just moved and flowed through the game. It didn't really seem like they had to do too much strategy. They just had to really focus on executing once they got the lead, and they did it.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. Well, Dragonborn, I mean, you got to see that game as well. What were your thoughts on the end of that?
It just very one-sided with Team Solomid playing pretty much the exact kind of gameplay they wanted to play. FlashX was able to just help Vonsi win that jungle. You saw that early game advantage with Lance play perfectly. They close out the game in less than 15 minutes. That's, when you're going to go for an early game hero composition like that, and of course, best chuck and Adagio in the lane, doing a great job at making sure they didn't lose that early as well. It just was played to perfection for TSM, and I think just a little bit too much pressure for Apex to handle, and they didn't like rotate. You didn't see at any point when they did start losing their jungle, the urgency to like try pushing the lane, right? There just was a lot of like miscommunication early, and then by the time they did decide to start pushing, it just it was too late. They weren't able to get really any farm, and they just fell so far behind. So, but with that, guys, we are going to take a quick break here in just a second, and we'll be right back with game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
All right. Well, it looks like we're into the draft. All right, Bacon. Let's get it
I think
going.
we're both gonna start it with just all right. Looks like
That's how you start it. That's how you do it professionally. All right.
Well, either way, we're going to see Samuel not banned.
No, let's see if this is a bit of a wild card coming over to
And
TSM.
not first picked.
They don't care about Samuel right now.
Apparently, or maybe they don't play it. We saw them banning it even when he wasn't eligible to be played. So.
And then Martel's like, wait, I could have swore they were going to pick this up.
Right? So there's going to be Adagio and Samuel on the same team. This could get scary.
Wow, it's already a little bit scary, honestly. Adagio, Samuel, these guys, they're pretty menacing heroes indeed. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work out, like as far as the laning, jungling, and like where everybody takes these heroes as far as positions.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be obviously something most likely different than what we've normally seen, because I mean Samuel is traditionally, or I say traditionally, but it's not exactly been long enough for a tradition.
long time ago.
in the old days of Samuel play, he was he's typically a laner, so
right.
Love to
He
see
can
if it
go
does
through the
mean just
jungle pretty
Adagio.
well. So my guess is that this is going to be the lane Adagio with the jungle Samuel, but anything could happen here.
I'm gonna guess that it's a Lane Samuel with a Rome Adagio.
Ooh, Marto with a Rome Adagio. Okay.
That's what I think, but we'll see what with this last pick. Oh, maybe never mind.
I don't know. I have nothing wrong with the
I've literally
Rome
never
Adagio,
seen
but
Samuel in the jungle, so I don't know how that works.
yeah, it works just fine. You're clear, like with the drifting darkness down. And I could be calling that skill wrong. I'm just learning the new ability names and everything, but your clear is actually really good. Like you can go through, like once you have a couple levels, you can jungle by yourself, no problem. And it's just fine there. When that's on cooldown, you do struggle a little bit, but you'll be able to catch up. And with good levels on this Samuel, and then the farm coming out of your Adagio, they should hit pretty strong power spikes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously going to have quite a bit of damage on this team, and with the Arden to have that melee factor to be able to apply the gift of fire onto their opponents, this could be a pretty menacing composition coming out from Apex. The problem I have with it a little bit is that if they get engaged on and jumped on really hard, it's going to be very difficult for them to peel away from a fight. And with a glaive and a fin, that's exactly what Team Solomid are going to be looking to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like exactly as you said, you're gonna have this afterburn coming in, and if Bruticus gets caught on the Samuel, I mean that he is in very good chance that he'll go down. You want to fight from range, and one of the other biggest things is like around cooldowns, right? So if you see this drifting darkness go out and they don't if Apex does not capitalize on it, that's the opening for TSM to try and get that engage off.
And right now, which is going to be a quick clear and then rotate up to lane for Apex, so avoiding that level 1 fight. Obviously, maybe listen to Fuji on how he was saying they shouldn't have been going for those early fights, but Team Solomid, they're going to bring the early fight to Apex.
Yeah, nice damage coming out here. Bruticus caught, eats a scout trap even, and he's going to make it down to the shop. Can he get those boots? Yes, he can. And he'll activate the turbos and get himself out of there, throwing back a little malice and some verdict for some style points. And I mean, I said earlier on, if he gets caught with an afterburn, he's probably going to go down, and he actually gets himself out of that one. So I think quite lucky that he's able to do so.
Yeah, and definitely a little bit of luck and, of course, plenty of skill involved in getting out of there on both sides. Really, it was a pretty low health, but
let's see.
Bruticus, he is so incredibly low, but he's walking onto the wrong side of the fold. Gets us some nice health back, but Von C says he's having none of that and picks up the first kill of the game.
Bonzi takes the back treant and then walks over as they're working on the mid and is able to take that as well. Chases down and finds the kill. That was literally the perfect rotation for Von C to go ahead and do solo right there. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, well, first kill picked up by Team Solomid. Obviously going to be looking for plenty more as they're now rotating again aggressively. They are going to be spotted out by Marto, so that's just going to be Von C going up into the lane saying, oh, hey, Bladeheart, I haven't forgotten about you up here either. He's going to get enough healing to get himself out to safety, though. Von C just trying to make plays happen, and, I mean, this is a pretty standard, what we kind of expect play style out of Von C, and now he's looking for the jungle. He's going to be able to force Bruticus away from that treant, and he's not even satisfied with just taking the treant. He's like, you know what? I want to go for this fight too. Maybe sticking around a little bit too long though, as Marto has gotten back.
Honestly, even in this 2v1 situation, they're essentially just tickling Von C. He's going to have to really overstep himself to go down here. Flash is hanging out in the bush. Are they baiting him in? Von C is going to be staying safe with that Blight Company coming out. Bruticus getting damage off on the Flash, and Flash realizing he just going to go ahead and make some space for his team. The best thing he can do. Blight Company buys some time. Quibble goes down. Bruticus lead a lot of damage, but at the end of the day is just fine, and that'll be a kill going over to Team Apex.
Yeah, 1 for 1 on the kills. Neither team really coming out on top from that whole skirmish. I guess you could say Team Solomid a little bit, if only because they were able to, while all that was going on, Von C and Best Truck and A were able to just duck back to their side of the map and continue farming. Whereas that whole entire duration, Apex were just kind of stuck chasing the fight. And then eventually obviously lost out on, or were able to find 1 kill, but not the one they were originally hoping to pick up. Meanwhile, up in the lane, I want to take a look at the farm numbers. 45 for Best Chuck NA, compared to the 35 of Bladeheart. So again, Best Chuck NA just having a really good time in the lane.
Yeah, definitely he is, and you wouldn't expect it to be this one-sided. But when I think it even goes back. Like a good way to say it is like we know how Von C's Kestrel is, but when you're picking up the Kestrel, you have someone that OP on it, and you're gonna go ahead and give it over to your laner and Best Chuck. Like it just goes to show that they really have the respect for him on this hero, and I think for a very good reason.
Oh, absolutely, and we've seen Best Chuck play this Kestrel a couple of times before as well. It's that's one of the scary things. A lot of these teams, when they pick a certain hero, you have a pretty good idea of where it's going to go. With Team Solomid, they grab the Kestrel, and you're just still unsure of who's going to actually be playing it. Obviously, once the Glaive came through in the draft, you kind of had an idea. But say they had picked Kestrel, and then like I'm trying to think of other heroes that can like lane and jungle. Like I want to say Ringo, but
technically you're Glaive but I don't think that's what you want up against the Dodge.
Best Chuck NA isn't known for a lane Glaive.
He's not known for his Glaive. I was just gonna let you suffer on that one there, though.
Yeah, I had an idea. I had one in mind, but I just completely lost it. Either way, Bruticus, he's gonna be completely losing. No, he turns it around, gets the Fountain of Renewal. I didn't notice that Mardo was actually going to be close enough with that one to get that heal coming through. So Bruticus will be okay. Double crystal versus double weapon, though. That's something that we can say for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see this, time-old matchup here of double weapon versus double CP. As far as we look at these teams stacking up against each other compositionally, I think Apex has got to be quite happy that they're really not suffering too much in the early game here.
Yeah, and the gold is pretty close, but now Von C jumping on in. This is the entire team now collapsing onto just Mardo and Bladeheart, or Mardo and Bruticus, sorry, and that's going to be just 2 more quick kills picked up by Team Solomid. They're 2nd and 3rd of the game, but it's also these jungle camps getting stolen by Von C before anyone is going to be able to get there. Oh, 1 shot, 1 kill. So I rotated my camera up just in time to see that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bladeheart and myself puckered up on that one. That was quite close. Bladeheart, he tried to get cheeky, and he did a self-heal in the mustache bush there as Best Chuck moved up, but Flash was right behind him, and they were able to just turn the aggression right onto Bladeheart. He almost went down. That was so close.
FlashX, he's in a bit of trouble now, but should be able to get away. The one downside, I think, oh my goodness, that damage of Best Chuck. I was going to try and talk about how, this Samuel can have a little bit of trouble chasing, I feel, but that was just a very quick kill turned around by Best Chuck.
Kestrel is such an amazing hero in the right hands. Chuck just showing that, he has this power, the basic attacks, the glimmer shots, and you always have to respect this active camo. Like, if you're going to chase in, the active camo is going to go down. Otherwise, he's quite happy to just trade with you. The basic attack damage is there right now. Yeah,
because that weapon Kestrel has a Sorrow Blade, basic attacks are going to do work, and a big combo.
TSM just making it happen. Right now, it's just TSM landing their combos, as you said, and basically, like, all of the components of this draft that we're talking about, it's just all coming to light right now.
Yeah, I mean, we both were kind of liking the draft that Apex had picked up here, but this double weapon, it's going to be effective much earlier, and this is one of the things that we've seen a lot historically in the double weapon versus double crystal comps is the double weapon tends to win out in the early to mid game, and it isn't until much later in the game that the double crystal composition starts to turn online, and it's just happening again here. We see just now is Bruticus picking up his first tier 3 item, and it's an alternating current. We've seen Dodgio players grab an alternating current at like the 4-minute mark, so the fact that it's coming 8.5 minutes into this game, that's a very late item pickup.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's not going to be happy about the timing, but happy to have the item. And I'm just trying to think about Apex's composition here, and for them, they really don't have solid engage. Yes, you have Oblivion out of Samuel, but that's not that reliable. Gauntlet's very easy to go ahead and reflex block and get out of. So this composition, I feel like if you get Dove on, that's where it's going to excel at. But other than that, like, they're really going to have a hard time chasing. It's going to have to be TSM putting themselves in a bad position, but they're in a great position. Von C finding the kill as Bruticus is chopped down Marto on the run, but under the safety of this turret. Apex, man, they just can't find anything.
And you're talking about the unreliable engage. Bruticus tried to throw down the ult bit to start that fight off, but like you said, unreliable. It didn't connect, and all of a sudden, Team Solomid are the ones making the aggressive moves.
Yeah, and I was just saying, it's maybe where they're being chased into where they'd excel, but not if you don't see it coming, as Von C, jumps right on top of Bruticus and just chunks him down at this point. Drifting Darkness going to move forward. There's your Malice. There's your Verdict. Just tickling Flash at this point, though, essentially. And, I mean, Bacon, I just feel like the only way Apex is going to have a really good fight is if TSM just completely overextend at this point.
And that's one of the worst feelings to have, is if you're playing the game and once you realize that your best chance is your opponent's making a mistake, and then you look at the names and
that's
realize,
always my best chance,
Solo Mid. But you're not usually playing against like Team Solo Mid and having to hope that these guys make the mistake for you.
Oh, I know. When I'm on my Smurf, but yeah, not on my main. I kid. We joke.
But right now, 6-1, a much slower paced game in terms of the kills, and just in general as well. I mean, this point last game, Team Solomid already had the third turret destroyed, so at least a better showing for Apex this time around, but it is still not looking terribly great as FlashX. Is he going to throw out that anchor? He is. It's going to get... I don't know if it even would have hit, but it would have been blocked either way.
Yeah, and this is just one of these things, and it could be, Marto being new on this team, but you notice Reflex Block and the Crucible are both burned there. And that's one of the things, like, out of these, the most efficient, the highest level of teams, like, they're going to be communicating, okay, is it Reflex Block, is it Crucible? Because you want to be taking advantage of these items.
Yeah, exactly. And especially a situation like that where it was very clear that it only would have hit one person if it even had hit. That's one of those situations where that Crucible really shouldn't be used. It's not going to play a factor yet because we don't have that insane cooldown on the Finn where the Forced Accords are thrown out more frequently than you have that cooldown available. But it's, like you said, definitely something that maybe just the freshness of having Marto in this roster, the synergy just isn't quite built up yet.
Well, it's fresh, but doesn't have the synergy. But, this is the fresh team. Maybe you'll get the fans' energy behind them and able to channel it somehow moving forward here. I feel like we might just see Apex land some amazing godlike combo here, Bacon. At least I would like to see it.
I would love to see it, but that's going to be a nice Crucible that time from Marto, blocking out that Forced Accord. That would have been a devastating Forced Accord if it had connected. So, as much as we were criticizing Marto for the last one, that was a great use of the Crucible. A nice gauntlet will actually keep Von C separated from his team. This could be big for them all, but the ult doesn't hit.
Oh, it doesn't hit. It's Bruticus moving forward. The Drifting Darkness is out of his range. One of the hardest things with is, you try to throw this Drifting Darkness down in the general direction where you think the fight is going to go, but also in a place where you're not going to put yourself into danger. And right there, Bruticus is able to get his Malice and Verdict off, I think, once successfully there, but he can't move too far forward or he's going to put himself into dangerous position.
Now, Team Solomid going to be going in, grabbing that turret, but now this is going to be a nice fight for Apex. They've got a lot of damage down. Bruticus being able to maneuver perfectly with that Shifting Darkness. Marto, though, he is the one who's going to fall. So much damage coming out of Best Chuck NA at the end of that fight there. Bruticus, he's going to be trying to find Von C, and he does find him in that bush. This should be a kill, but Bruticus is taking so much damage, he's going to get stunned, he's going to go down! And it's an ace, because in the middle of the map, they got the kill onto Bladeheart as well. Oh, that is just heartbreaking for Apex.
Oh no, I wanted them to be able to make the plays so much. Bacon, Marto went down and, God bless you, Marto, I love you, but Crucible and Fountain were ready to be used. He was trying to wait until the last minute, I'm assuming, to use those items and to go down and in a situation where you're so far down behind in the game and this is your fight. This is your fight to turn the game around. And then you go down and you watch your teammates split up like that and get taken down individually and almost finding kills. It's just, there are not words.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, it's just absolutely heartbreaking for the team. and it's got to put you on tilt a little bit. I mean, I don't care who you are. That's got to put you on a little bit of tilt.
Oh, I'm tilted.
Hopefully Apex, they can get over that, and they may not get another opportunity like that, though. That's the problem.
That is what is so heartbreaking about it.
Yeah, that was such a good chance to turn this game around.
That was the moment. I mean, the kind of opportunity that I was describing, it was where TSM is going to overextend. They're going to take a lot of damage, and maybe they're not sitting in a huge verse and getting stunned up and letting you do damage just sitting right there in an area, but they're running away. You have the damage, the ability to chase them down. Fountain was used for TSM. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's such a hard situation, but let's live in the moment here. That's Kraken will be respawning currently on the map. 9-1, 10K net worth advantage going over to TSM. They have the vision down in the proper places, and looks like they'll move over and start up this Kraken. Do you think Apex can make a play here?
I don't think they can. Not
this
on the
is
Kraken.
way too fast.
Like, look at how quickly it's being taken. And again, like you said, they have the proper vision. So if Apex were to even think about going for it, plus the minions being pushed up, like, they would have been seen immediately. So not going to make a play on the Kraken. They're going to instead perhaps look for a fight early on, but they're being chased away by Team Solomid. That's going to be Vainglory getting in and doesn't get the stun, but they are going to be finding a fight. Blocks the sleep.
Whoa, Force Cord comes in. It's going to be the verse. Just uses a bit of zone. Then just laughs it off. Just finds it quite funny that a verse was attempted by Bladeheart there. Marto burning the gauntlet as well. There was really nothing they could do in that situation. Bruticus, Drifting Darkness, was on cooldown for like another 5 seconds, even when that gauntlet and verse came out. So there was no way that they're going to combo up together, and this could be quite likely the end of the game. Force Cord grabs 2 Bacon. Can they find the kills? Yes, they can.
Yeah, they've got 1, they've got 2. Vainglory is the closest to falling, but he is still plenty healthy. And it's just Bruticus left alive against all 3 members of Team Solomid and the Kraken. Check that, it's just the Kraken and Team Solomid in the base, and that will be a win, and 2-0 points week for Team Solomid. That is going to do great things for them in the standings.
Yeah, Team Solomid are going to be quite happy to pick up some points here moving forward, but my goodness, they really came out and executed here today. I do feel like there were some missed opportunities out of Apex, but I don't want to be too critical. You know, they are working together, you know, getting Marto on this lineup and the synergy together. Obviously, there were moments like where the Reflex Crucible kind of things that will come with time and communication. It was so unfortunate to see that there really was one opportunity this game for them to turn it around, and they weren't able to seize that moment.
Yeah, just for an idea, to continue to emphasize, though, how dominant Team Solomid was in this series, this game finished 16 minutes 40 seconds on the clock. There are still 2 members of Apex that are level 11.
That's not real good for Apex.
That's not real good at all. I mean, and one of those hit 11, like, in that last fight. I believe it was Marto, was still level 10 going into that last push. So that was just, again, controlling how much gold your opponents can get means you're controlling how much experience they can get as well, and you just are able to completely steamroll a game if you can deny that much gold and experience from your opponents, that you have a level advantage 16 minutes into the game.
Yeah, this game was a lot closer than game 1 as far as the early game was concerned. I think that's safe to say. They traded back and forth 1 kill. The net worth was quite close together. They were dealing with the invades a little bit better. My question, Fuji, I know you were sitting there watching in the background. When the game started to really go TSM's way, what made it happen? Was TSM really just taking advantage of opportunities?
It was definitely a little bit of both. I mean, when you look at the draft, I mean, Apex did take away what would be considered 2 priorities right now in Samuel and Adagio, but the biggest issue with these 2 characters is they're very squishy. They don't have a lot of early game defense, and if you're gonna put Samuel in the jungle, you really have to work to avoid Glaive and Finn, because you're not gonna have anywhere close to the damage you need to be able to break through them. And we saw Apex making some good decisions early by going up to lane. They avoided that confrontation in jungle, but the mistake came was once they try to put some pressure onto the Adagio, they overstay and get chunked out for a large portion of their health, and that kind of led to mass confusion. Like, they're all walking different directions. One person's trying to steal farm, one person's trying to defend their farm, and they just end up getting cleaned up, and that gave Von C the kind of momentum he needed to push forward. I mean, we saw over and over again Glaive just putting extensive amounts of damage onto this Samuel. He's not an early game carry, so I'm not really sure the thought process behind him in jungle. It feels good when you look at it, but the way it actually plays out doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you go up against a double weapon, like, who's going to get the Atlas? Who's going to stack the armor? Who's going to tank the front line? Because we saw Marto attempt to do that in the later game and got deleted immediately.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it almost feels like they got baited into picking both of these guys up simply because they were both let through on the B side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously TSM knows if they don't pick Adagio, if they don't pick Samuel, the other team can very well take them, and they've been practicing some of these comps into it. I'm a big fan of TSM's draft in terms of, if you're really going to get into Samuel's face, having a bruiser like Glaive is a great pick, but Jungle Samuel is really weak early game versus any bruiser, so that's it's just something that Apex is going to have to consider for future draft scenarios. But then once again, Bladeheart was still losing out very much in the 1v1 scenario, with BestChuck putting more pressure onto the Adagio than Adagio was doing in return. So I'd have to think that, BestChuck on Kestrel is probably a bit more practiced than Bladeheart has been on Adagio, just from kind of the natural way they were trading in lane. But that being said, they did hold stronger. The gold leads took a lot longer to accumulate for TSM. But, once the pressure mounts, it's up to Apex to make the shot calls to come back in. And TSM just had way too many good moments where Marto tried to use Fountain to save Samuel, but he died so fast. Fountain didn't even tick once, and that allowed them to put a lot of damage on turret. We saw Marto getting caught in the front during this really important team fight at about 10.5 minutes in the game. And he dies before even getting to use Crucible, before even getting to use Fountain. And those kind of things just can't happen in a competitive environment. You've got to be a little bit more tight as the team. You have to understand why you're going to go in, when you're going to go in. And Apex kind of mirrored their performance last week. Not the Apex we were hoping for tonight, but TSM does come out shining on top as perhaps we expected. 28 minutes. That's how long both games lasted tonight for TSM. So sometimes we see one game go that long. TSM was not, they're looking to get off early, I think, maybe a little hungry for dinner.
I think Flash said he had some Overwatch that he had to take care of or something like that. But I'm not sure exactly. Dragonborn, though, I mean, those were pretty quick games, as Fuji said. It was impressive stuff out of TSM. Did you expect it to be that dominant?
I think we can come to expect TSM this season to play very, very well, and if they get the hero comps they need, if they can get that synergy perfect, if they're playing at their best, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. They've been performing exceptionally well this season, especially the second half of the season, split 2, and then they closed out the splits really strong. Second and third week of the splits, just really dominant play all the way through. Barring one matchup. So I would just say no surprise coming out of TSM. You kind of expect them, if they can get the draft, if they can win the draft, I think you expect them to win the game. And, with Samuel going in the jungle, I think that was a big missed opportunity by Apex. They're worried about trying to get the Adagio and trying to prevent, someone from playing a certain hero was, I think, misdirected. I think they should have looked at what was the best hero composition they could play and put that forward, not worry about playing a hero composition that was a little bit weaker in the early game than they'd liked, just for the sake of removing a hero from someone's hero pool. But that's my personal opinion. Guys, we will be taking a quick break here in just a second, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with player interview from TSM, and then the series number 2 of tonight's matches. See you in a bit.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Welcome back, everybody, as we get ready for the second series of tonight. It will be Nemesis versus Team Enforcers. But before we do, I am joined here by FlashX from TSM for a quick interview. FlashX, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So you guys have just concluded the regular season of the Evil 8, as well as getting very close to concluding the regular season of the VISPRO, and those 2 points do a great job of getting you into the mix, but you guys have to feel really good how you're closing out the season this second half of summer.
Yeah, we were a brand new team at the start of summer, having never played together before. So we didn't do as well first split as we would have liked, as well as at the start of VIS, but I definitely feel like our synergy has come together very nicely throughout the course of the entire summer season.
Yeah, it seems like every week you guys have improved. What would be really the cause for that? I mean, is there anything specific that you guys had to do, or was it just continually work at the same thing until you got it right?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, the more you play and the more you practice, obviously, the better you're going to get. And then I think we just did a really good job at focusing in on, okay, we need to work on synergy this game, or we need to work on our rotations this other game. And focusing on those key elements combined with just a sheer amount of hours that we were putting into practice, I think has really helped us come a long way.
Yeah, and so with the wins today, you guys control your own destiny in VISPRO, as well as, getting that first place finish in the regular season, going into live finals, being first seeded. There's been a lot of ups and downs with TSM in the last couple of months. It seems like you guys have found what really works and you've hit your groove. I saw a picture on Twitter the other day where, it was you, Von C, Best Chuck and A all in a room. So is it meeting together and face-to-face, is that something you guys have been able to do a lot of this season?
No, so that was actually for the first time in preparation for finals, since we have never played together in person. We thought it would be a really good idea for us to make that happen prior to getting on stage. So that's what we're working on right now.
Well, that's pretty exciting, and best wishes to you guys. Good luck. We've got one more week of this pro, but you guys will be definitely making a splash coming up here into next week, going into live finals. So good luck for you guys, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for having me.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.